It's Girli IRL, yeah. It's Girli IRL, IRL.
Hey, I'm Girli and welcome to my show Girli IRL, where I talk to special guests about life, making art, being queer, feminism, politics, kind of everything really. Today's special guest I'm so hyped about is Elliot Lee. I DM'd them on Instagram maybe a month ago because I found their song Pink Freak, which kind of attracted me because of the name, and you know, I was really psyched to talk to them. I hope you enjoy. Elliot Lee, welcome to Girli IRL.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you on the show. I've been a big fan of your music from afar, from a really long time. And when I think I DM'd you like a few months ago, just being like, hey, you're awesome. You know when you realize you should tell people that they're awesome? We're obviously like pink twins. What 5 words would you use to describe yourself?
Probably colorful is one of them for sure. Cheerful, introverted. I like to be alone a lot. Emotional and honest.
I'm a lot of those same things. I think people always think I'm really like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm extroverted, fuck it. But I'm such a sensitive person. I'm like, actually really need to be alone most of the time. I think also a lot of the time people make the mistake of thinking, oh, if you say you're an introvert, it means you're not confident. Whereas actually, I don't know, I mean, this is what it means for me. I don't know what it means for you, but I'm confident and I like being around people, but then I need to be on my own to like get my energy back.
Exactly, yeah. No, I like to be alone a lot, but I love being around people too. But for me, definitely, I have to have a lot of alone time just to kind of recuperate. And a lot of my hobbies are just need like studying or doing things that I do alone and like reading and stuff. So that's what introvert is to me. But yeah, people definitely, they see me on stage and they're like, how would you be an introvert? Like you go on stage and you scream in front of people, but I'm like, it's different, you know?
What has been your worst heartbreak?
I think for me, my biggest heartbreak was kind of early on in my career, just with the industry in general, the music industry. I always wanted to be a musician, and I knew that there are people in the industry who don't have your best intentions in mind, but I still was naive. And so I went to LA with some people who, you know, called me over there and they're like, let's do a bunch of sessions and stuff. And when I got there, they ghosted me. And it was like the very beginning of my career, and I had a lot of hope for the whole situation. And so when they kind of ghosted me and never gave me an explanation as to why, it was pretty heartbreaking for me. And it kind of made me step back and realize, you know, how crazy the world and the industry can be and all that. So I think that was my biggest heartbreak.
Fuck, that is so intense. You were just in LA, like alone, basically.
Well, I went there with my boyfriend. Luckily, I wasn't totally alone, but we kind of went there with the intention of me working every day and stuff. That was like the whole plan. And we had like sessions lined up, and then I got there and he just kind of never talked to me again. So it was just me and my boyfriend in LA. And so I kind of just rented a studio on my own and worked alone. And, you know, it's just how it is. I'm almost glad that I got to experience it firsthand. So I know going forward to be more careful, you know.
Yeah. The music industry, it literally teaches you to have the thickest skin because you have to deal with so much rejection. When I got dropped from my first record label, that hit harder than like I think my partner at the time like breaking up with me. Like, damn, that stung. And also, yeah, like people being so fake and like making you promises. We got into the industry maybe at the same age too, 18ish,
19, 20, 21 in there. Yeah,
hella young.
Yeah, it is.
I was so naive. I was just like, yay, everyone has my best interests.
Yep, same here.
I feel like you've already answered this question kind of, but are you a sensitive person or are you emotionally unavailable? I kind of assume all artists are sensitive people because we make art.
I tend to be very sensitive. I think for a long time, I was kind of like sensitive internally, and then everyone outside kind of thought I was okay because I never portrayed it ever. But as I get older now, I'm kind of just like, if I feel something, I'm going to show it. Like, why not? I'm definitely sensitive. Like, I get hurt pretty easily.
Oh my God, same. I'm trying to like be less sensitive. I also react too quickly to things. The anxious, overthinking mind. Like my girlfriend will be at work and like won't text me in her lunch break, and I'll be like, what? Oh, we're breaking up now, are we? Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll see like a YouTube comment I don't like, and sometimes I'll be like, I'll have to respond. I'm like, an hour later, I'm like, why did I respond to that? Like, I know there's no reason to respond to that, but it hurt me in the moment, so I'm like, I have to respond somehow. I'm the same though. I respond pretty fast to things, and I get hurt pretty easily.
Yeah, I always respond way too fast, and then 10 minutes later feel really stupid for responding. Hate comments are also the worst. If it's a sexist comment or a homophobic comment or something, I'm always like, come on, don't do it. There's no point.
Oh yeah, there's always comments that they're like, oh, you're just like blah 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 artist, like, but not in a nice way, you know. I'm fine. I love being compared to other artists, but they'll be like, oh, just another blah 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 knockoff, and I'm like, you only say that because you look at me and you see a girl. It's the only reason you say that. Like, it's just so frustrating, and those comments are really hard to ignore sometimes, but I'm learning.
When you are somebody who's just expressing themselves openly and dressing how you want to dress, people are always going to have an issue with it because you don't fit into like their box.
Exactly.
Brush them off. What was one of your biggest fuck yeah, my life rules, this is awesome kind of moments?
Yeah, I think for me, it was like one of my first performances I did in New York where it was like a ticketed event, and I had a bunch of fans come, and I was singing one of my older songs, and I looked over and they were singing it with me. And when I saw that, it was like, for me, I was just like, it was crazy. Cause like when I first got into music, in my mind, I was like, if even one person likes it, that's enough for me. Cause that's just like all I wanted was for someone to hear what I had to say. So having this like group of people at my show singing my song that I wrote forever ago, like when no one even knew me, it was just crazy. That whole show that I had, and then afterwards, and I was chatting with them and they handed me gifts and stuff. That was, for me, just like insane. Like, you know, talk to them about their experiences and how they use my music in their life and all that. It was just like definitely a big moment for me where I was like, this is awesome.
That is so sick. This pandemic has been so shit because playing shows and getting to meet people in the flesh who have been affected by your music is the coolest thing ever. Oh my gosh, you're not just at Fun Girl 2020. You're breathing and you talking to me right now.
Right, exactly.
What was one of your biggest fuck up, oh my gosh, my life sucks kind of moments?
That was kind of like before I started my music career. I was in college for pre-medical, and it was all just like, you know, trying to make my parents happy. And my dad really wanted me to be a medical doctor because it was like obviously the safe path, like the money-making path. And I was in school, and I was doing okay, like grades wise, but like mentally, it was just like, it was really weighing on me. And like just thinking about living my life as a doctor, it was just like, I started to think about it, and I was like, this is just like not at all me. It's not what I want to be. Like, I don't want to be that kind of like that job, or anything just doesn't fit me. And I was just kind of in college thinking about how I let people decide my future for me, and thinking about how big of a mistake that was. And that's when I started like writing music really, and like getting into it and being like, this is what I see myself as a musician and artist, someone who, you know, has crazy fashion and doesn't have to worry about sitting in an office or studying things that they don't really care about. And so that was like definitely the biggest moment for me, where I was like, I messed up big time by letting myself go on this path that isn't mine. And I kind of just like took control of it and started doing music instead.
Hell yeah. That is such a cool story. I feel like a lot of the time you have to make mistakes or end up doing something you don't like to then be like, okay, I think I know what I do like.
For sure.
You would be a cool doctor though as well. I mean, like on the wards with your like coloured hair and shit. What made you want to start dressing up and experimenting with your style and wearing pink? Who were your style icons?
When I was really, really little, early middle school, I started getting into like anime and Sailor Moon and stuff like that. And then I learned about the fashion style called Harajuku. It's a style in Japan. Like, it's like they have like decora fashion stuff where they just go crazy. They're, like, tons of colors, tutus, like high shoes, and like berets all over their hair and stuff like that. So I got super into that fashion of just like the craziness. And I wasn't good at it, but I did it anyway in middle school, and people made fun of me. And I was like, I don't care because this makes me happy. And I kind of stopped doing it in high school because I kind of wanted to fit in more, and I wanted to, you know, try to make friends. And so I tried to look more normal. And then when I started making music again, I was like, I really want to get back into fashion and be more myself. So I kind of got into like the Instagram fashion scene of like the people who were doing alt and like street fashion, stuff like that. And like Billie Eilish, the way she was dressing and still dresses is so inspiring to me. And just anyone who kind of goes outside of what you're supposed to wear and goes crazy is so inspiring to me always. And so I just kind of follow in that and try to just do what feels right to me.
Sometimes I look at photos of me in school I mean, I had to wear a uniform throughout most school. I don't know, were you allowed to wear your own clothes?
We were, yeah. I didn't have uniforms.
I mean, you know, everyone kind of fucked about with the uniform too, like wore like Doc Martens instead of actual shoes. So I kind of never really got to experiment with style. And then I left my uniform school and was like, oh, holy fuck, I can wear my own clothes. I don't even know what to do now. Who inspires you musically?
I think it's hard to pinpoint one, but I grew up with a lot of the band called Cake. They have this kind of messy sound, like unrefined. Like they have like a broken synth that they use and like some old untuned guitars and stuff. And I loved that growing up. And then I got more into like Britney Spears and Lady Gaga and stuff, and like the powerful women in the industry. And they always inspired me in that way. And then like more recently, I've, been super into like Billie Eilish, of course. She's incredible. And Ashnikko is so cool. I tend to be really inspired by women and non-binary people in the industry just as a whole. It's because what they do is always just in itself so exciting. Yeah, I mean, I have tons of inspiration. It kind of varies day by day too. Like I'll find someone new that I love and I'll get obsessed and my music will sound like theirs.
No, I'm the same. Whatever I'm listening to just kind of directly feeds into what I'm making, and it just changes like every week. I find the same. I'm way more inspired by women and non-binary artists and queer artists. You're interested in things that align with your values as well. I'm a queer artist. I saw on your Instagram profile like you use they, she pronouns. For me, like my queerness is constantly influencing my music and my art because it's such a big part of my life. Do you find the same about your gender expression? Does it influence your art?
Yeah, for sure. My gender expression is a big part of my just everything I talk about because it's always been like a big part of who I am. And I've always struggled with figuring out what labels work for me because labels are just hard for me to fit into in general. For a while, I went by he, and I used he, him pronouns for a while. And then I realized that doesn't quite fit me. So I tried they, them, and then I tried she, her. Now I'm trying she, they. I'm never really sure. It's just trying to figure out where I fit in the world. And it all definitely plays a big role in my music. The song Pink Freak a lot of it is about my gender expression and how people see me and how what they see is who I am, but it's also the way they see it isn't necessarily who I am. Like the way they perceive me may be different from who I want them to see me as. And I've always kind of struggled with being seen as someone that I don't feel like I am. Like when people see me, like they'll see like a video of mine and they'll say something that is not at all true about me. It's like, oh, she's trying so hard to be quirky. And I'm like, I'm really not trying to be quirky. It's just kind of who I am. And those kind of comments always have been hard for me to deal with my whole life. So my music is definitely influenced in general just by how people see me and my identity and all of that.
Online comments can be so derailing for the mind because words really hurt. I find this exact dilemma where it's like, I'm sensitive, but I'm creative and I want to put my art out there. But then once you put yourself out there, then, the internet is just this like stage for people to criticize or do whatever they want. Like they can compliment, They can criticize, they can do whatever. The thing that's so exciting about our generation, obviously not all of our generation, there's still some, questionable people out there, is that I think we're way more open to talking about gender and not just taking what we were given as fact and, figuring ourselves out.
When I see like Gen Z and all of that, like the younger people and our generation too, there's a lot of people who are really questioning like why there's all these rules for expression and identity and gender, and like why do we have to live the way that you want us to live when it doesn't feel right to us. And I think that's so inspiring and motivating to keep going and just being who I want to be and being me.
Hell yeah. Oh, you have such a cuddly energy. I feel like I want to hug you.
Oh, thank you.
One day when Corona is over, we shall hug. I'll come to New York. We will share a hug. My last question is, what 3 tips would you give other people for learning to love themselves and embrace who they are?
One of the biggest things, like the biggest factors in loving who you are and embracing yourself is to accept that humans in general are messy and gross and ugly and can be, dirty and nasty, and like all that's okay because it's part of like the creature that we are. And it's pretty hard for people to embrace that, I think, a lot of times. Like with social media and, even before that with TV and all the people that you can look up to and admire, they always seem so polished and so perfect. But part of being a human is that, grunginess and like the mistakes that are made, and we aren't robots. And so I think embracing that that's all part of what makes you who you are is a really important step to loving yourself. And also being around people who are kind and who accept you for you is important. It can be really hard especially if you grew up with some people who are now maybe not being the kindest to you. It's hard to let go of people, but it's really important to find people who are willing to embrace you for you and not make you feel like you have to change. And that can help you love yourself. And also, I think for me, a lot of time, what really helps is to see myself as a main character. I always grew up kind of feeling like maybe I'm a burden or worrying that I would affect someone else's life. But then as I get older, I'm like, well, my life matters. And, what matters is that I'm happy, and seeing myself as, the main character of a story, that someone that I would admire, helps me to kind of figure out who I want to be, and in that I can find a way to love myself.
I'm going to literally write what you just said on my wall.
Yeah.
We are speaking through a computer right now, but I will take a virtual Polaroid, aka screenshot.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful. This is super fun. You're so kind. And I love your music so much. So I'm super glad to have had this opportunity.
Oh, thank you. No, this was so much fun. And yeah, when Corona's over and you come to the UK or I go to the US, like we should play a show together or something. Like it would be so fun.
Yes, definitely. That'd be so sick.
Thanks for watching Girli IRL. Make sure to go check out this episode as a podcast as well. It'll be available everywhere. Also, go check out Elliot Lee's music. The links are in the description, and I had an EP come out not too long ago called X Talk, which you can go check out as well. Drop in the comments who you think I should have as a guest on the next episode. I love you all loads. Keep being awesome. Thanks for watching Girli IRL. Subscribe to the audio podcast so you never miss a podcast again.